Okay, so we are live everywhere. So we have 1 minute left. So I'll just do a couple of announcements. So those of you who are joining us on Zoom or Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube on eChai social media platforms or Wadhwani Foundation social media platforms, in case if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment. We will take up those questions towards the second half of the sessions, and we have shared the information of all our speakers. So in case if you want to ask more questions, you can reach out to any one of us little later. It's almost 8 p.m. India time, and we will just get started. So one of the things we really pride ourselves on is to starting events on time. This is the 18th session of this summit, and everything has started on time. So this was good, and thank you so much, everyone. So one of the big things for pulling off a summit is to have very good speakers who accept the invite and commit their time. Thank you so much, all of you, for accepting the invite and joining this program. I'm Jatin. I'm one of the co-founder of eChai Network. We host engaging startup networking meetups in 25 global cities. This is the 12th year for us, and for a very long period, it remained Ahmedabad, Gujarat-based good startup community. But in last 2 years, a lot of things happened, and we were able to start physical meetups in 25 global cities with a lot of good partners. We started a Singapore chapter with Nanyang Business School. We started the Melbourne with RMIT. So it coincided with two phenomena. One was there are many more people who are interested into entrepreneurship and interested in being part of such networks. Another thing that really helped us was people started traveling. So for example, a lot of people in Bangalore might not be, Bangalore might not be relevant for them because they would know everybody else also. But when they started traveling to Singapore or US or UK, they might want to look at someone who also has some bits and pieces presence. So that made us more valuable for our local partners in different cities also. So that was a brief context. And this CoRise Summit is more like a culmination of a lot of things that happened with us in last 1 year, where for entire summit, we kind of bringing people from all over the world together in a single summit. So this is my background, and this particular session is the 18th one. This is a much broader topic, startup support initiatives, and this summit is organized by eChai Network and Wadhwani Foundation. Ankit is playing a dual role. He is the co-host and he's also a panelist for this particular session. So Ankit, if you can just briefly tell us about Wadhwani Foundation, and then again, I'll have formal questions for you also.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Jatin. Hello, everyone. Good evening. On behalf of Wadhwani Foundation, I welcome you all for this session and overall CoRise Summit. A quick intro about the foundation. WF is a not-for-profit organization working with a very specific mission to accelerate economic development in emerging countries and economies by focusing on driving large-scale job creation. We have three different initiatives, and we do this through entrepreneurship, innovation, and skill development. Founded by Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani, today Foundation is scaling its impact in 25 countries across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And we're very happy to co-host this summit, and once again, welcome everyone, all the panelists for this session. Look forward to interact with you.
Thank you so much, Ankit. So the format is that I'll have each of the speakers briefly introduce about themselves and their firms, and then we'll get started with our discussion. Anju, thank you so much. If you can briefly introduce about your background and what Avi Camp does.
Sure. So my name is Anju Gupta. I work with Ivy Camp. My background is engineering, so nerd by background, I'm proud of it. So I did actually a PhD in earthquake engineering. I worked for about 20 years in the field of earthquake insurance and risk management, which is kind of interesting when everybody used to worry about when there are natural disasters. And, my husband used to tell me, you make your money off other people's misery, because whenever there's a hurricane, there was this excitement. But it was an interesting field to work in. Then I came back to India about 8 years ago, and a few years ago, I joined Ivy Cap Ventures, which is a VC fund based out of Mumbai. And our core tenet is we work with the IIM alumni ecosystem and fund startups that come to us through the ecosystem. So when we started working with the fund, a lot of alums wanted to work with startups, not as investors, but there was a lot of harmony in these alums coming together and wanting to contribute back and give back. And when I was in the US, at Stanford, I was perpetually amazed by the fact that students could just pick up the phone, call all these entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley and say, hey, can I talk to you? And 9 times out of 10, they'd say yes. So our intent was to do something similar here in India. And that's why Ivy Camp was launched. It's basically an engagement platform to kind of work with early stage startups, connect them with corporates, with domain experts, with accelerators, with incubators, and basically help them scale to the next level to become more interesting to investors. So that's essentially, what we do, based out of Bangalore. And more interestingly, I think over the past year or year and a half, we've been working more with a lot of corporate organizations who are now interested in working with startups in different capacities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Kupu, if you can briefly introduce about you and the Zoho and Zoho's initiatives for startups.
Absolutely, Jatin. Yeah. So today is one of those days when I've done so much talking where gathering the rest of the energy and wanting to be my best, because at this time if the audience are there, then it's so good. So I'm going to try my best. I'm sorry if my voice will fail because I don't know when I go, Yeah. So I'm Kupu, and I'm so glad to be here, part of this panel, and I'm, what do I say, when I introduce myself, I make sure that work alone is not my identity. So I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm an ambivert. In general, life and many things like nature, people excite me a lot. I'm a lifelong learner. And in this time of pandemic, I'm discovering more of the introvert personality of me. How was I even talking to so many people and collaborating via the startup ecosystem? While I wonder that, a little over 10 years have passed for me working with Zoho, though I have been in the work industry for 17, 18 years now. So with Zoho, the journey has been very, very rewarding, because when I joined, I was a soft skills and communication trainer. I managed some part of the content, and we were close to 1,500 to 2,000 people in 2010. Now, as we have scaled up, our family of apps have also grown into a full-fledged suite. We have touched 8,000 to 9,000 employees. We are present in 180 countries. And I'm so proud to say that we recently crossed the milestone of 51 million users from across the globe.
Wow.
So I'm pretty excited, because this means more responsibility. You have to find happier ways to be busier, at the same time not lose sight of why you came into existence. With that, I'm very proud to represent Zoho, and I'm excited to share what we do and why we do via the Zoho for Startups program. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was a very lovely introduction. Survi, you are part of a large enterprise. If you can briefly introduce you and the HP Enterprise Startup Program.
Yes, yes. So hi, good evening all, and thank you for joining in. Like Kupu said, at 8 p.m. India time. Yes. So I have been with HP for 7 years now, and HP is a US-based large company, large corporate. $32 billion is what we have done in our last quarter. And I now head the startup practice at HP. It is a fairly new practice, and we've started engaging with startups in various modes. We are doing direct sales to startups. We are engaging with startups to develop a joint GTM strategy. We've recently launched, a Catalyst program where we want to, do some mentoring for startups who are, in the tech space like AI, ML. So there's a lot happening at HPE. Us being a tech company, mostly into infrastructure, we really look forward to startups who help us, go for a joint GTM and work with us in the software areas, so that we build a larger portfolio. So I am an engineer, an MBA by background. Software engineer, and when I did my engineering, software was not like a very big thing. So I thought that, okay, let's do MBA. Now I look back and realize that, oh, possibly I should have stayed back in the development side because everything is now software development. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me on this.
Thank you so much for joining. So broader topic about this theme is startup support initiatives. Anju, in your case, the kind of work Ivy Camp does has probably has evolved. That what you started as investment, and then you do a lot of other startup. So what are the trends that you could see and how you were able to, you evolved those, some of the things that, what was those things that led you to do that?
Sure. So it's been an interesting journey, right? So I mean, when I first started, like I said, we did mostly funding, and whenever you reached out to startups, everybody obviously the first thing they want is funding, and the platform we set up was to go beyond funding, really help the startups grow and scale. So, within a year of starting, we used to first reach out to startups and say, why don't you work with our mentors? Let them work with you. Let them, help you figure stuff out. And at that point, nobody wanted to kind of talk about that. But then, people started approaching us. They realized the value that these, domain experts could add, not only from the point of view of specifically sharing their own experience, their technical knowledge, but also from a networking perspective. So I think founders, especially early stage, started realizing the value and importance of working with domain experts, having advisors work with them, having those network connections built, and how much value it added when they went in front of an investor, especially if they had an advisor backing them. And so that was one interesting evolution. The next evolution was when we started working with corporate organizations. And I think it took a little bit of the mature startups to realize again how important it was to work with a corporate to help them understand, the user perspective, because I think that's what also, founders miss a lot. It's fabulous technology. We work with a lot of technical folks, and I think, it's the greatest thing. Obviously, it's interesting, but they forget about kind of the user perspective and how somebody who's using it is going to do it. And then I think they started realizing the value of working with corporate organizations, again, not purely from a funding perspective, but the value that introduction to contacts could provide, the value of having a corporate name as having done a POC with them. So again, I've seen some of that evolution, and I think seen some of the maturity from founders and realizing the importance of having good advisors, having a good corporate, work with them, engaging with customers, all helping them build a profile of how to stand out in front of an investor. So beyond just that. And I think the fourth thing I'll add quickly is the importance, and I stress this a lot with whatever founders we work with, it's not about just the money you're getting. If you have a good advisor, you'll find a good investor, but it's really important to see how much that investor is invested in your success. Does somebody just want to come in and make a quick exit, or actually help you grow and grow with you? So I think those are some of the trends I've seen, in kind of, founders.
Correct. Thank you so much. Kupu, what was the origin story of Zoho for startups? Zoho, everybody knows, but what was the particular point that Zoho for startups started as a separate program and how it has evolved over the period of years?
That's such an interesting question, very close to my heart. Okay. I keep joking about this because sometimes you take yourself so seriously, you say like as though you are governing the world. But then on a lighter note, you can always say, well, what is a place like me doing in a girl like this? That mismatch that happens. So I have no business to be in this because in the introduction I missed out. I'm fundamentally a microbiologist. I have no place to be here. But Zoho, from the way you see it has evolved, you see Sridhar Vembu talking on Twitter, and you see the rest of the news that we are making in the past few months. It is now looking back, I realize that the being born of this program, why this program has to come into existence, it's like duh, it had to happen. But if I have to go in the sequence of the event, as per your question, I think I realized that in 2016-17, when we were participating in a lot of events representing Zoho and talking to various businesses, that was also the time when internally we were talking about there are so many businesses who come from similar vertical. And if you take startups, there is education plus tech, finance plus tech, health plus tech. But the pattern in if you see in how they adopt tech was never the same. Even the growth pattern was same, the funding patterns were same. You can expect when the founding team is going to celebrate the next round of funding, but when it came to tech, it was never the same. This was one part of the so many reasons. You connect the dots, right? The other dot was when we started attending events and we listened to some of the talks. That was the time when startups like Paytm, InMobi, and all were going into the next level of acceleration. They're slowly getting popular. your story as an ecosystem partner, and several, eChai and so many others, the community partners came together, where the whole hullabaloo of, oh, I also want to start a startup, that craziness was coming to a bit of, okay, let me not enter into this frenzy without understanding the basic difference between what it is to be an MSME or an SMB, structurally what it means to be a startup. That natural understanding slowly, was coming to the picture. Internally, we were looking at this pattern, we were listening to so many people, and we realized that you have to have an entire suite of app bundled into one. And that was this was a parallel conversation happening, where let us do this, let us do Zoho one, all the 45 plus applications put together as one bundle, and let's give it to people, where they enter into Zoho and they're not quite confused, saying, "Arey, ye bhi hai. मैं कौन सा app लूं, कहाँ से शुरू करूं, where do I start?" And of the 45 apps, it can be very overwhelming to even to a tech savvy person, and especially when you're spoiled for choice with so many software vendors out there. So it was very important to make informed decision when you're presenting an entire buffet of apps. So things fell in place, and that was also the time when Government of India was setting up this team of Invest India. So I would say in one way it was luck, because I ended up meeting these people in events, and as universe would have it, we met and we spoke about it even before all this was there. So I think I went one day to my boss and said, "Look, we have to do something specifically for the startups." And he's like, "Okay, look, nobody is doing this in the organization. Why don't you pick it up?" This always happens in Zoho. If you go with an idea, you're invited with saying, "Lelo, take responsibility and walk that path." That's how I moved from being a trainer to working with several product teams, presentations of products, where one day Sridhar Vembu came to me and said, "Look, anyone can train people in the organization, body language, presentation skills, not talking down to your customers when you're selling software. It's so good. Why don't you take a product yourself and go try, sikhao unko, then you will know." Humko to laddu khana aata hai. So in one way, you take the challenge and you don't worry that you fail, because Zoho is a very safe place. And I can vouch, when you go and ask for help, it's always there. They don't laugh at you when you fail. Even now, the person who I report to is Sridhar's brother. He tells me, "Look at this as an MBA course that you didn't do, Kupu. It's okay if you do that experiential learning, but at the same time, ask for help, because we are literally working with startup founders and interfering with their lives in one way." That's how it was born, Jatin. Can you hear all the background music and the pataka?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is a very brilliant story. Surbi, you briefly mentioned that this is a recent practice within HP Enterprise. So what was that key trigger, and what was your initial hypothesis that, okay, this is what we would offer to the startups?
Okay, so my story is very very similar to what Kupu said, and I actually have been pushing HPE. So I was a part of the services arm at HP. We have a very large services arm, wherein we work with the government of India or telecom companies or banks, and develop large IT solutions for them. So I was a part of that services team. And then I realized that the startup is one area that we are missing out. And so I went up to the director, our MD, and I kind of told him that this might be one thing that we should be interested in. We should be looking at this. So he's like, "Okay, fine, do one thing, come up with a case study, let me understand what is the market size, and then we'll think about it." So then after a couple of weeks, I went back to him and I told him that, "See, I think this is the market size, and things are growing, I think." And this was back in 2018 or something, when I told him that we should be a part of this. And all of our competitors in the industry, all the tech competitors in the industry, either had an incubator or some engagement with startups or corporate plan, or they were funding in startups, or things like that. So I was like, we're missing out. And that is when he was like, "Okay, fine, let this financial year go. Next year you take up this practice, and you have 6 months of time, plan for it, let me know what you think, and what is your your everything you are going to decide. So your team, whatever a market you're going to address, which companies you're going to go after, what are the areas you're going to look at, do you want to launch incubation, not launch it, everything is going to be decided by you. So I had some time to plan it out, and finally in June we've launched our incubator in August. So yeah, things are looking pretty good actually.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
there would be a lot of early stage startup founders who are watching on social media or later watch this video. Anju, how startups can get started with IVCAM? Like, what are the things, what are the touch points, or what are the offerings for the startups?
Sure. So, a couple of things. So, we constantly run different programs with our corporates that we post on our website, specifically when some corporates come to us looking for targeted solutions. So, for example, we're doing a program with HDFC Life where they're looking for startups, specific kinds of solutions. So, that's kind of one way. Startups, once they apply, there's a whole host of, things they can look to us. So they can go look at our mentors, try and see, who would be a good fit for them, reach out to them. We're constantly running, events and workshops. So I say a good starting point would be good to see what programs we're running and kind of apply to them. And we always tell startups, that anybody can kind of join the platform, reach out to us, send us an email, tell us how we can help you. And we'll figure out a way. If we can't help you directly, we'll connect you to one of our partners who is doing something similar and then point you that way. But that I think would be the best way to kind of like reach out.
Yep. And you must have seen a lot of startups reaching out to applying. But so what would you advise to the startups if they apply or they reach out in a certain way that increases the odds of them getting a better support?
Sure. So, I mean, again, I'll give you an example of some of these corporate programs that we run, right? So I think they have to look at what their offering is versus what somebody's looking for. So very specifically, let's say a corporate is looking for a specific solution. They have to be understand that they're looking for a solution relevant to them. So when you're writing about yourself, present your solution in a way that adds value to that organization. Your solution may not be ready-made. It's not going to be tailor-made. You hire and fit kar diya and ho gaya. But you have to understand what problem they're trying to solve and how you think your solution can address it for them. And why do you think your solution is going to add value for them? So tell a story. So most important is be very clear about the story you are telling. If you're looking for like funding, you want to reach out to one of our, angel investors, be very clear. You understand what problem you're solving, not just, this is my solution. There are 50 apps out there. Mine is like that. What is different about you and what do you understand about your customer and how are you adding, why will somebody pay you for this? If you're looking for a specific, domain expert, if there's a good mentor, there'll be tons of startups working. Why should A or B work with you? Why should she work with you? Why should she spend time with you? What makes it interesting to work? So I think, in short, tell your story and how it fits who you are trying to approach, whether it's an investor, whether it's a corporate, whether it's a mentor. Be very clear about your value and who you are and why somebody should work for you, work with you.
Thank you so much. Pretty much a similar question. What are the touch points that startups can reach out to Zoho for startups, and what would you advise to the startups?
Jatin, this is like, my team and I, we work for startups like a startup. Multitasking, pulling our hair with data, and always looking for, array, what did we forget today? This is still a founding team stage. We launched in somewhere July, August 2017. And keeping in mind the principles of the parent organization, Zoho, we can't go far away from the mothership, right? So we wanted to build this Zoho for Startups program only organically, not in a marketing way, not from a PR perspective, right? So we wanted to be truly useful for the startups, which means this is not going to be a program where I'm projecting to the world saying we have done so many collaborations and it's come out in the news and inside we do nothing. So this has to be a very frill-free, direct program. At the same time, you can't run this as part of an organization where at the end of 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, whenever we do it, there is no scope for an ROI, right? Both have to be in place. So via Zoho for Startups program, we work with startups via various incubators, accelerators, co-working spaces, government-backed, state government and central government-backed initiatives like the Startup India portal. We work with startups where whoever approaches us and they are validated as a startup, they get 1 year of free credits of all of Zoho's apps as part of Zoho One. So Zoho One is one bundle of apps I said. So they get 1 year of free credits from whenever they sign up. For which one thing I mentioned in the passing is they have to be validated, means we Zoho are software as a service, right? SaaS. We don't want to interfere in the space of whether you are a startup or you go back, you fall under the category of MSME. We don't want to do that, which is why if you're a startup, you come to us via your incubator or the parent ecosystem that's supporting you, that helps speed up the process. The only conditions apply is if you are an existing user of Zoho, if you've been using Zoho for a long time, then we have to take it on a parallel conversation, because of course it interferes with the existing sales process that you have. I think anybody in the world who runs a program functions in this way. So we are coming up eventually with smarter programs for early stage startup, and then someone who is really scaling up. We are trying to make it really smart, where we don't work a lot on logistics, and at the same time we partner with a lot of people, like Anu was saying, where we bring in mentors, we bring in ecosystem like you, Push Start, and a few others into the space where we don't have to really worry about training someone on how to pitch, or we've stayed true to why Zoho is there. We give you the best presentation tool. Or tomorrow, if you're really early stage, don't worry, don't be caught in messy Excel sheet where you have data of number of times you've called someone on an Excel sheet, and then you have to WhatsApp someone who's just joined your team, right? So especially in a distributed team, work from home situation, trustworthy software who does not play with your data or privacy, who's very transparent with service level agreement. This is all part of Zoho's vision and mission already. I'm only, as part of the Zoho for Startups program, accelerating the trust and the fan following Sridhar Vembu has gathered. I'm only accelerating, riding on that mode. That's Zoho for Startups for you.
Awesome. And based on your experience with, a lot of startups would have applied for this program and they would have some sort of a support. What would you advise them if they apply or they communicate in a certain way that increases their odds of getting this support?
They are not going to like me for giving this advice. One thing I realize is whatever they need it right now. Even if I multitask, sometimes I'm not able to write so many emails or talk to as many startups I want to. One thing I would advise to the startups is, do not wait till a time where you think you will have the time to sit and one vendor of after the other, you will have time to research. In all that frenzy and to get yourself started, to move from an early point or a proof of concept say a stage to an MVP stage, or from there you're looking at your first set of target audience, irrespective of the nature of, don't wait for a fabulous sunny day to come to say, okay, let me cut the ribbon for software adoption. That's not how it works. It has to happen from a really early stage where you don't have to be tech savvy, but you have to have one person actively looking into this space of tech adoption, digitization of everything, so that you don't wait for a day when you need this red carpet for this person from IIM. I don't mean to insult people who are from these B schools, but you don't have to wait for a CTO to come and occupy that position and then start fixing the mess. This is one really humble request I have. Sometimes it's a daring advice I give. Yeah.
Awesome. Ankit, Vadhwani Foundation has a lot of initiatives. What are those key initiatives and how startups can get involved?
Right. So we work right from high school to early college to senior college students, and then with the incubator, early stage and growth stage startups. One of the initiative, and which is the first initiative, NEN, National Entrepreneurship Network, started in the year 2003 with 5 co-founders, and from there till date, we have now present in 1,000 plus institutes in India and across 25 other countries now. So where we have a 1 year, 2 semester, 2-part program that we run with institutions, with early stage incubators, with from what Kupu and Anju were saying is they don't have to spend too much time in training them. So we do that entire part in terms of building their capacity, making them investor ready. And then the ecosystem partners like Zoho and IVCAP and HP can then take them up and then handhold and take them to the next level. Another initiative that we have is Venture Fast Track, wherein we're working with Atal Incubator Centers and other incubators that have been funded by government, state governments, and central government. And again, the idea is to build the capacity, train the people there so that we get better outcome, which can be connected to the ecosystem that is present around. So that's the two major initiatives.
I have heard some great things about NEN, yeah, from all the ecosystem people, especially some of them from the AICs.
Right.
They used to do this NEN dot program, which was very popular. I don't know why they are not continuing with that.
So they've already been trained now.
Everybody. Yes. Survi, you mentioned about the incubator. So what is it? What kind of startups you are looking at? Hopefully, you'll get some applications from this video.
Yeah, so we have already started getting applications. So, so Jatin, the way we are engaging with startups is basically threefold. We are looking at large startups who are, Series B, C, D funded, and we are going for a motion in which, due to COVID, people are trying to cut costs, and they're looking for solutions which are not as expensive as the ones they're currently using. They're looking for modernization. They're looking for consolidation. So that is one arm wherein we as HP try to help them modernize or try to help them consolidate or help them reduce their costs basically. So that is one motion. The second motion that we're driving is for mid-sized startups, which is our incubation program. Wherein we are helping these mid-sized startups go to the market with ease. So as HP, we back them. For example, we did a project for the municipal corporation in Mumbai, and it was a drone-based project. And so as HP, we are not providers of drones. So we collaborated with various startups who provide drones. We collaborated with various startups who provide a platform for collecting sensor data, and as HP, we then provided the complete infrastructure, which is the underlying layer. And holistically, we made a solution and then went to the municipal corporation, and we won that project. So similarly, we do a lot of things for banks. We do a lot of things for smart city projects. Smart city projects has we work with various companies, and build a single project out of that. So that is my, at HP, that is our second concentration, which is joint go-to-market. So that is majorly for mid-level startups. And for very, very early stage startups, we then have our Digital Catalyst program. In that, we are concentrating more on startups which will fit in with the HP portfolio. So for example, startups in the AI or ML or IoT or cybersecurity, these are the startups that we're looking for. We will provide them space to come and experiment, build their ML models on the infrastructure that we have, make them corporate ready or make them customer ready, give them a lot of mentorship which they might need from a tech aspect or from a business aspect. So that is something that we're doing for very, very early stage. That is the Digital Catalyst program. So these are the various ways in which we are trying to connect and help grow the ecosystem.
Awesome. Anju, the next is more like all of you, not as a leader of a individual support system, but as a leader in the ecosystem. Probably in 2020 now, there are a lot of support programs. Like there are so many opportunities, there are a lot of communities. So what would be your advice to early stage startup founders, how they can identify a right program for them and where they can invest their time? Or they'll start up typically, that happens with a lot of government programs. They have a program and a lot of startups end up spending a lot of time, and somebody changes and then it moves to a different way. Then that ends up wasting a lot of time. So what would you, in this context, what would be your advice to those startups? Anju.
One of the things I found that is most helpful to startups is, look for an entrepreneur who is working with a startup who's been successful in your field. Some people think, oh, if मैं उसके पास जाऊंगा, I'll be viewed as a competitor. They will actually be surprised because those founders have actually been through this struggle themselves. and they are more than happy and willing to help somebody who is truly passionate about what we're doing. I'm not saying if 100 people go approach, I'm going to work with 100. I mean, these guys can figure out who really is invested in and who loves what they're doing. So one thing I tell people, you want to find one person, go find a founder who is working in your industry or a startup who has been doing well. They are the perfect person to guide you and move forward, because I completely agree. There's so many programs out there, things change. I mean, this is my personal opinion. I don't think jumping into a government grant or government program is the best thing to do. It might be good, but
probably we lost
that may
Anju's
not
voice
be the
there.
place to start. And the second thing I would say, again, I mean, I'm biased, but I think alums are a great source of help for you, because they there's this bond, right? Sometimes there's always this conflict. Is this person someone I can associate with? Do I trust this person? Reach out to your alums. You'll be amazed if you go to LinkedIn, find somebody who is a leader in your field from your institute. Go reach out to them and say, hey, just want to talk to you. They can connect you to a person who can guide you. So I think go use your network or build your network to find out where to start. And that person or people can help guide you about where to start, because you're right, there are a lot of solutions out there, lots of things. Start with somebody who can guide you and advise you.
Good. I think we lost Jatin.
Great.
No?
We lost Jatin, right? Surbi, we can start with you.
Yeah, so yes, I do agree that there are a lot of programs which are currently running, and HP's program itself is very new. So for very early stage, people are listening in. We are at this point in time, we are concentrating on certain areas, and so those areas are typically cybersecurity or IoT or ML, AI. So these are the areas that we are concentrating, and we feel, coming from a tech company, we'll be able to add a lot of value to them. So yes, so that is what as HP we're doing. But yes, just like Anju said, it is very important. If you are ending up in a program and investing so much time and effort and energy to be a part of a program, then you need to be very sure of what value you're going to gain out of that. You need to have your end goal in a very clear and a concise manner. You need to come out with something in hand out of that program. So that is really important, how you plan your end goal and how you reach that. So out of every program, you have to really look whether you're getting that, or whether historically people who've been a part of that program, they've really achieved what they wanted. So I think that is a very important criteria according to me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Kupu.
Same question. Okay, in my mind, I'm already thinking of plans where I'll contact each of you and see how we can all together help the startups. That would be the best way to answer this question. I'm serious about it. Where I was just going to ask Jatin, okay, it's good that you brought all of us in this space today. What were we doing all this while without talking to each other? Share some of the efforts that we were doing. Right.
Yes,
So
yes.
that is one way to answer. But in a slightly different perspective, I do see that many of the startup founders, in their own unique way, they tread a certain path, figure out that it's not going to work for them, take a U-turn. Some of the most wisest lesson come from those mistakes. So we've seen a lot of people, even on Twitter or LinkedIn, really dish out some great life lessons, and they've become very popular motivational speakers also eventually. Not hinting at anyone.
That is really true.
Your imagination. But what I'm saying is, if you have to summarize what you all have said, if your intent is really true, we only figure out how passionate we are about a certain thing by consistently showing up and doing the same thing every day. When you want to learn entrepreneurship also, what works for everyone might not work for you. So sometimes you take the path, you pay for a course. I think there are so many out there these days, right? From Upgrad to so many who help entrepreneurship, where knowledge is also available for free. Some brilliant work done there, but the intent has to be there. The commitment to show up to learning should be there. How do you use your network to go ask the right question? That's something I see could be better, especially communication everywhere, but especially with startup founders early stage. If you look at their age category, they fall from say they graduate from college, and then you see an average age of 35 to 40. But work on those intangible things where along with your ROI calculation, Jatin, you're back.
Yes.
Along with, we made a plan meanwhile, okay? We'll tell you your disappearance. Now, when we think about what these founders need, is that, when they make a mistake or come back from a path, we want to tell them it's okay if you've lost some time. It might not make sense now, but tomorrow you will be giving some of those wisest lessons only based on those mistakes. Kahani mein twist nahi hoti, to there is no story to say. You have to go through certain challenges in your career and learn those lessons, retain those lessons. Because I'm from a training background, or I'm very passionate about people and their behavior, I also end up feeling a little bit of unsolicited pity, for startup founders who have to call themselves CEO, CFO, CXO. But they need trustworthy platform to come and say, if you're coming on this stage, it's becoming even more tougher in virtual platform, where please learn your communication skills, you want to say, but you have to say it in a way where they don't lose their hope, they don't lose trust in themselves. So many challenges that they face in multitasking and being versatile. The pressure is so much. We keep talking in Zoho how even when someone gets a round of funding, we go hooray, but it is actually like, अरे मुझे मैंने जो wish किया मिल गया, अब मैं क्या करने वाली हूँ? What am I going to do with this money? Am I going to prove? From now on starts my challenge. So I think we all still have to make the plan. And number two, allow for these startup founders to discover their own way. If I invite Sridhar Vembu to such a panel, or anybody else who's super senior in Zoho, they will say, no, I'm not going to share any lesson that Zoho walked, because we were born at a time soon after internet came. SaaS was not even present in India. Today, if I'm talking about 51 million users, I'm very careful in saying it in a way where we arrived at the right time. We grew at the right time. This does not cause any pressure for you to copy the model of Zoho that might not work for you. But then there's a fundamental skeleton that works for everyone. I think one course that will work for one person will not work for the other. Anu made a very important point. You have to ask the right questions, but the other side of the coin is they don't even know what they want. We have to start addressing those areas as well. But that's why we have people like, Jatin and Ankit here. This is something you also should answer. Please take a few minutes. Yeah, mic on to you. Yeah, here you go. Yes, I'm serious, though I do sound funny at this time. Jatin, Ankit, add your points.
Yeah, sure. So exactly the same thing that we are doing. What we believe is building those knowledge set and skill set is essential, and so that they don't do the same mistakes that have been done, and do their own mistakes, so that they learn and then can come back and say, this is what worked for me and this didn't work for me, and these are the things that we are trying to do. So we help them start with the venture while they are going through the entire program. And as Anju said, that they build that comfort, safety net around yourself, in terms of having good mentors, in terms of having people around you understand, in terms from incubators, in terms of other peers that are there doing similar things, so that they understand your language, and you learn from the peers, you learn from the one who have gone through this, as Anju said, or one who are there to support you, even if you fall or even if you are struggling in the way. So completely.
Awesome. Ankit, what was the question? Was the one
same question we were still discussing.
Okay.
So various initiatives that you asked, which one to go and how to choose which initiative. So we were just discussing that.
Yeah. So I end up suggesting a lot of people do a lot of research, do read a lot. Typically people assume. So like somebody would have told us, so there was somebody who came to me that I know a place in so I am from Silicon Valley, and I know a place in a certain club in Silicon Valley where Mark Zuckerberg and who's who of Silicon Valley comes. That doesn't mean that you understand everything. Like there are a lot of people who live in an elephant's road. So that doesn't mean Mukesh Ambani goes to him and tells him how Geo works. So do have your own opinions or own thought process. Typically for a lot of people, somebody's Quora answer becomes their understanding and the thought process. So my advice to not just into business, but typically any decision that you would want to pursue, if you have that, then that it gives you a huge edge over a lot of things that you would want to do. So this is what I end up telling people, and this is something I follow myself also.
Very good. See, I like these answers because what you're saying, but you know how my mind is processing because from that, training background, you're talking about critical thinking, you're talking about analysis. It's not just
Absolutely.
data, right? Your researching capacity, your, basic way of asking questions where I keep telling people, don't ask in a way where you're questioning them, you're posing a question. There's a difference. You're not
Correct.
challenging someone. Are iska jawab bata ke dikhao. It's not like that. It's like you're really asking for information where this relates to coming with an open mindset. Most of the times we humans end up asking a question and we also already have a favorable answer in our mind. And it goes to the other spectrum and we're really lost or we don't like the person who gave that answer. This with a startup founding team is very, very important to always remember those intangible things that come as part of the business and never let go of. See, one way what Ankit and Jatin said, it's also about time management, right? If I don't set aside time to be quiet and to process how the day was or at the beginning of the day, this is all becoming zen at the end of it, right? But there should be enough people who come and talk about slowing down. Look at us in this pandemic. I am tired. I thought this pandemic is going to give me an opportunity to slow down, but more than ever, I see the need to grow extra pair of hands and have an AI that's
Absolutely.
also named Kupu.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
correct.
Totally. So, Jatin.
Ankit, you continue. I am just starting the other session.
Okay. So I had a couple of questions. All three of you, Surbi and Kupu, you're from the corporate. Anju, you're working closely with the corporates. What is the process? Why does corporate now? So what's the thought behind corporates coming to the startups? Is it just like we are not doing it? Everyone is doing it, so we also should do it, or we need to support the startup, so we have to do some programs, initiatives. So what's the thought behind doing all this corporate startup support, corporates that are doing startup support, and what they're looking from startups?
I can give my perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
so he's more closer to it. But whenever we work with corporates, it's a few different reasons. So one is, corporates are looking for some solutions that not everybody has a big R&D arm inside, or has the time to build it and innovate it, and different people think differently. So I think one reason they come to us is they're looking for solutions that they know they're not going to get in-house, and that they know that are out there already, that people have developed them and built them. So one is simply getting a different perspective, getting a solution that's out there that's relevant for them. Because it's like, why reinvent the wheel? Right? There's smart people out there that are building stuff that are thinking very differently than how it works in a corporate. Because typically in a large corporate, it takes a long time. There's a particular process, whereas a startup can do it in a very agile fashion. So there's that speed, there's that idea, there's that innovation. That's one. Right. Second is the corporate. Maybe, for example, we worked with a corporate that was building very technical solutions. They partnered with a couple of startups that had AI solutions. So they didn't have that knowledge in house. So they wanted to bring the entrepreneurs who brought that knowledge and the solution to partner with that technical team to then co-create a solution that made sense for them.
Right.
The third thing is very much, corporates, there some corporates that are out there who do want to work with the startup. Now, obviously, it's not altruistic that let me just give them money, but through working with them, they're also giving the startups an opportunity. We have knowledge, we have technical knowledge, we have experience, we can help you. And, it's a win-win situation for all. And fourth, they're also looking how they can give more innovative solutions to their own customers. So I see corporates look at it as a win-win solution, and they're doing it in different ways. It may be by co-creating a solution. It may be by having an accelerator, an incubator. It may be through their CSR programs. That ultimately it's like a collaborative win-win effort.
Sure. Thanks. Surbi, Kupu,
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah, so Ankit, I think I completely resonate with everything Anju said. So we realized while working with our customers that people these days they do not want to reinvent the wheel, okay, when it comes to technology. Plus, they are wanting to concentrate on their core business because businesses are moving so quickly that if you just nazar hatai and you miss the opportunity, and there's so much competition that people are looking very closely at their core. They're looking how do they grow organically or inorganically. So they're not really looking to spend time on doing things which are non-core. So for example, if there's an automation that needs to happen, so people are saying that why don't we just give this automation bit to someone who's already done it. And there are so many vendors and so many startups out there who've excelled in it. So they're the end customers or the corporates or the larger ecosystem, they're more interested in they've an open thought process. And previously we used to see many corporates, they used to refuse to work with startups, citing stability issues. They were saying that I don't know if we'll work with startups, and we invest in them 6 months down the line, we don't know what's going to happen. That mindset has completely changed. We see a lot of corporates now wanting to work with startups because the startups are much more agile. So we've seen corporates wanting to engage with them because they feel that a startup is the person or the companies who will be able to give me my customized product, customize things according to my requirement, and as opposed to a larger entity who will give me a pre-packaged solution, which I might use, might not use, might like, might not like. Whereas if I go for a startup, I will get that importance, and they'll be able to help me with exactly what I require, and plus add on to it. Plus, it takes away a lot of their operational issues. So that is the trend that we are seeing, and that is basically the reason we've been doing it in HP for quite a while. In my services portfolio, we were engaged with a lot of startup companies, doing video analytics, doing, smart city projects have come up in the past 3 years. We've been doing, facial recognition, crowd management, waste management, water and electricity. So we've been already engaging with a lot of stuff. It's just that we have given the name right now. So we've gone, we've done a branding exercise around it, but this engagement and this trend that we have seen, it's stark. It's just in a matter of 5 years, the corporates are like, what's new? I don't want to invest in my time doing automation, process automation, or setting up a platform, an IoT platform. Why don't you guys do this for me? I want to concentrate on my business. So we've seen that entire cycle happening, and it's really exciting to help the corporates grow their business, as well as the startups engage with the end customer and really see how their technology is helping the startups and helping the complete ecosystem. So it's a nice, exciting time.
Super.
Yeah.
Your response, and then we'll have a last question then.
So I just was going to say copy paste, what Surbi and Anju said. It's all there, but
Yeah.
it's a mix of all, Ankit. I wouldn't say one without the other, because when we do a program, like I said, the end, we do look at what do we get out of this program, but that's not the main thing. The idea was, if you are an Indian company operating out of Chennai and you have 45 plus apps where, like Surbi said, we take it off from the startups where because of the length and breadth of the apps, because they are deeply integrated with each other, and you don't have to really worry about different vendor billing cycles, or still we talk about data silos, like from the Simpsons time till now. How do I move data center problems, where exactly is my data? Is it kept safe? A lot of things that address, I do know what kind of questions I should ask when I pick a software vendor. Two, are you trustworthy in a way where you come and tell me what kind of questions I should know answers about? So we keep all of this information transparent and also function from like the mothership. We were one of the first startups also arriving at the right time. So in a way we can call it, we want to give back, but the true intention is, this is our business. We want to give software where if only you use it, you will know what we have been saying via those marketing ad, why you see Zoho as part of test cricket, banner on the ground everywhere. This did not happen 3-4 years back. I have witnessed, no, we do not focus so much in India. Today we won the Atmanirbhar app challenge, working closely with the government, and I'm so happy because this is what I was talking to Sridhar Vembu a couple of years back. Let's start focusing in India. You need Hindi speaking person, I'm there. You need people who want to take the flight at 4 a.m. and go meet the IT minister. I've met, the opportunity to meet Mr. Priyank Kharge or so many people who are very, very efficient, tech savvy themselves. So you have to connect all these dots. So the answer is all of it, but ROI also is an important part. At the end of the day, I need to get my paycheck, right? It's nice to get a promotion for the kind of work you do. But at the same time, we are making sure that this program doesn't end up being one of those that becomes hollow after some time, where it's a lot of noise, but there is nothing that comes out of it. This is like farming. So many things have to happen right to get the crop that is very, very good in quality. You can't blame just the farmer. So we are arriving in that circle where you have great mentors, you have great ecosystem partners and platforms like you and eChai. And then you have initiatives from, to see what Surbi and Anju have been talking about. We arrive to complete that circle in one way. So it's all of the above, but in a slightly different order, where the byproduct that we get, what we call the ROI, comes as one of the last things, and it's a good to have, necessary have thing, must have thing.
Okay, now last 1 minute, we'll finish in another 1 minute. But typically, this is something we tried in earlier sessions, and we'll try it again. So Ankit, if you were to get a superpower to do your job better or help more startups, what that superpower you would want?
High number of.
God, I have a ready answer for that.
so thousands of people like Jatin, Kuppu, Anju, and Surbi together working day and night and scaling this.
You've been assigned this superpower, and no one else will get that. So you have to find a different one. Surbi?
Oh, if I were to get a superpower, I would possibly, get a different set of hands so that I could do more with the amount of time I have. It's just mind-boggling, the amount of work that we've been put in because of the work from home. But yes, I would clone myself. These tasks, please clone, do them. So yeah, that would be my superpower.
I would say power to kind of read into an entrepreneur's mind and find out which ones are truly, like in one meeting in 5 minutes, who is really passionate about what they want, so I can figure out which are the ones I can truly help and who truly deserve the help.
Awesome. And just 8:57, immediately after this at 9 p.m. we have another session that the stream has already we'll go there. So what we do, so ending these Zoom calls is very tricky sometimes. What we will do, the moment you end your sentence, I'll close this call.
Wow. I take home the crown.
We'll end on
Okay. That's a superpower actually. But then I think during this time, the effect of pandemic that is there on everyone, I wish I had the superpower overnight, one snap, and tomorrow morning we all wake up to a post-pandemic zone. I wish I had that superpower.
Once that happens, we should have this call again then.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you
so much.